Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to the very first live Gordon Report. Let me make a few introductions. If this is the first time you're joining one of my webcasts, obviously this is the Gordon Report live. My name's Wolfe. I'm the founder and chief Googleization officer of Success Performance Solutions. I am joined today by the author of the Gordon Report, Dr. Edward Gordon. We're going to be doing this, I think, on a monthly basis. We'll be talking. Right. He's been publishing the Gordon Report for over a decade. We'll go through a little bit of background on that. Many of you might have been receiving it. If not, this is how you're going to be getting it in the future. But he's been keeping at least me and hundreds of other people, probably thousands of other people, updated on workforce and workplace trends. Especially when it comes to the future of jobs, and more specifically, the future of job skills. His most recent book on the future of work and jobs has been Future Jobs. So welcome to the Gordon Report, Ed.
Well, and welcome to all of you. I'm happy to talk to you online now for the first time. We'll probably still issue some email Gordon Reports in the future, but Ira was kind enough to organize this, and we'll try to do this every month on current hot topics in the employment arena.
And I'm sure we won't have any shortage of those.
No, I don't think so.
Especially with an election coming up. But we won't go into the politics of it, but we'll talk about what some of the implications of that are. Right. Before we dive into the report, let me talk about a couple things here. I have a couple other, one is I want to thank everybody, and I know that there's quite a few people probably from Googleization Nation on here. If you want to get updates about things like the Gordon Report, looking at working with one of our mutual friends, Ed, Joyce Goya. Joyce and I talked the other day, and we're talking about doing something similar on some topics, because she's got the Herman Report that goes out on a weekly basis. So we're talking about doing a little bit of snapshot from her perspective on that. And I don't want to take a whole lot more time here, but on Tuesday, let me see if I can find the slide here. There we go. On Tuesday, doing a webcast with Scott McKenzie. And this relates to what we're talking about today, about growing your talent, developing leaders. And we're going to talk about online learning. And if I can find where I put that link here, I can give you the link to sign up on. There it is. Okay. So if you go to crowdcast.io/e, grow your talent, you'll probably, if you belong to Googleization Nation, you'll get this as well. And on Tuesday at 3 p.m., we're going to be talking about reskilling and upskilling your labor forces, your workforces, using online courses, microlearning. We've got 2,600 different courses in business skills, software skills, leadership, customer service, sales, team building, EQ, emotional intelligence, you name it, we got it. And anyone who attends will also get a free 2-week trial to be able to try some of those courses and see if it's a good fit for your workplace. But we're here today to talk about the Gordon Report. So let me flip some of I'm going to keep this part on there. But let me go back and remove the screen. Okay, there we go. There we are. Our faces again. A lot of buttons and whistles, and I've got 4 screens up here trying to monitor. Also, hopefully the comments will come in through us. If you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, you can make comments there. I'm trying to monitor that. So if you see me looking away, I'm not checking my text messages or phone calls or diverted. I got multiple screens here, and I'm trying to keep tabs on everybody. So if you do have any questions or comments for Ed or myself about what we're talking about today, we'll just, again, post them on Facebook or LinkedIn, or LinkedIn as well. And we will try to get to those. If not, we promise we will get back to you. So Ed, let's get started. Okay. The topic of this report, if you were putting this into text, the topic of this report was going to be how COVID-19 caused the future of work to arrive early, to accelerate. And I've been saying this all along. Everything that you, me, and thousands of other futurists were talking about, fortunately or unfortunately, we were right. It just happened a lot faster than we expected.
Yes.
So
Yes.
is this, and one of those aspects was remote work.
Right.
Right.
Well, remote work, let's talk about it. Remote work was introduced a while ago, was quite popular. And then a lot of management people started pulling people back into the office. And now, whammo, in 2012, 39% were home workers. In 2016, 43%. And then COVID hit, and now we up to 62% are working at home. Now, there's a lot of confusion. One of the big issues just today, the Financial Times was reporting how the city of London, or that was yesterday, they're scrapping their plans for people to return to the office, mainly because the COVID infection rate has jumped so precipitously in the London area that the government now has ordered everyone to stay home. But what are the pros and cons of this long term? Well, first of all, the biggest selling point is no commuting. Hey, hallelujah. You don't have to jam on a train or try to get your car through the freeway or expressway and waste all this time. More family time. You do work when you want. The noise and formality of an office is gone now. The child rearing possibilities and problems are less. Shorter work week. Well, we'll talk about that maybe. More productive, quieter environment. Sick days have plummeted. So there's an endless number of things we could talk about as to why this is working out great. But then there's some problems with it. Some people find it's easier to separate work from home if you go to the office and you come home and you don't work. Human needs for social interaction. Well, there's certainly proximity for collaboration and innovation in an office. That's harder. You can achieve it. Sure, you can achieve it on Zoom and these other devices, but there's the whole issue of social interaction is important to many people. There are fewer distractions depending on the office environment, depending on your working space, more opportunity for formal and informal learning from others and career development in your office. Also, too, let's talk about employment, security, promotion, pay raises. Well, a lot of people feel if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And if you're not in the office, you may be overlooked. And then there's the big issue of self-discipline in the office environment. Look, I've run a virtual business for many, many decades. I am very disciplined. I've written a lot of books. I do a lot of consulting work this way, setting up programs and work on site. But I'm a very self-disciplined individual, and I love what I do. That's not true for a lot of people. And I have a very long attention span. That's also not true for a lot of people. And then also, too, guess what? People become lonely working at home all by themselves. Yahoo is a good example of this because they started, they said everyone was going to work at home, and now they have changed their mind and they're dragging people back into the office. So this is what I see shaping up for the future. I think that there will be a good percentage of people who are going to work at home, but I think it's overblown that companies are going to go 100%. And I think there are a lot of, it was very interesting because business, the Wall Street Journal just talked to a lot of corporate leaders about this. And Tim Cook, James Dimon, Larry Fink from BlackRock, and many others, almost all of them said that they saw it happening, but they didn't think they were going to become 100% virtual. So I think part of it's the kind of work you do, the company, the culture, and that's the other problem. Where will the culture go with the company if it's 100% at home? So I think it will be a mixture rather than 100%.
So Ed, let me ask you a question here. And again, if anybody else has questions, looks like our comments are working. So if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, please post your questions there and make a comment. some of the struggle, and we've seen this already, although it's 6 months ago, from March till now, when everybody was sent home. And the first month or two was rather rough. People getting online, learning how to use Zoom, making these calls, getting the efficiency, even carving out a workspace in their apartment or their home, and not sharing, 4 family members, 5 family members, 9 family members sharing a kitchen table or an ironing board that they were working on.
Right. Yes.
But we've adapted. I mean, people have adapted and they figured it out, and now there's a number of people. So is part of the challenge still that companies and individuals haven't figured out how to work remote? Or, and again, it's that urge. It's like, hey, this just isn't working. Well, just because it's not working that's not necessarily a positive sign for your organization to say, hey, we're eventually going to pull everybody back to work, because just because you're inefficient and you can't figure it out doesn't mean it's the right trajectory. Can't even say that word anymore. Trajectory going forward. Right.
Well, part of it, you bring up the issue though. The workspace is very important. A lot of people can't find a dedicated workspace where they can plop all their electronics and their files and business materials.
That's why the real estate market's booming. People are building bigger homes.
Right. I mean, look, I'm sitting in a library. This is my workspace. I close the door. I have complete quiet when I need it. All right. That's part of it. Now, another thing, though, how many Zoom GoToMeeting programs have you been on lately? A lot of people are getting zoomed out.
Daily or weekly?
Well, right. That's the problem. Now, of course, you could say, well, how many useless meetings did I attend in an office where I just sat there all day in meetings and didn't get any work done?
Not only that, I mean, I attended a lot of meetings because I volunteered a lot.
Yeah.
And the travel, it would take me, I used to go to a committee meeting at 8:00 in the morning, and I had to leave here because of traffic at 7, and I didn't get back until 10. That's 3 hours. And the meetings weren't always productive, and half the people didn't show up.
Now, I have consultants that work with me who are very, very good at having GoToMeeting type coaching sessions with people scattered all over the United States, working for a large organization to help them to come together and collaborate and make decisions. I think part of it depends on the personalities of the people that you're working with, their willingness to openly discuss things. Could I actually use the word honesty? I think that's even more important on this type of a connection, because look, you are right now listening to me, and you're in New York or California or Texas or wherever. If you don't trust me that the information I'm giving you is the best that I can as an expert in this field of human development, then why bother participating? So I think this accentuates the need for people to be serious about what they say and do, and the language they use, and the information that they're using. And for some people, they hate this. Some people hate negotiating over a telephone. Some people hate negotiating face to face. So part of it is personality driven. And that's why, I think a combination, would I rather do a keynote to a conference of 300 people this way, or would I rather do it in person? I'll tell you right now, I'd rather do it in person. Why? I can see the audience reaction better. I can judge their mood better. I can tell my jokes better, since I can hear if I get any reaction. So there are various ways and tools to use this and use it well. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, but I am saying that it's like every other business option. This is not the universal panacea that's going to reinvent American business. And for those people that are trying to sell the software, hardware, and everything else to convince you to do it, beware of that.
Okay. So Ed, we want to keep everybody's attention. We thought you got a long attention span. I got attention span of a gnat.
Right.
So we'll try to do the average here. And there was another really interesting question that you were going to talk about. And it was about what about the length of the average work week? Because you mentioned that a little bit. Will it cut? Working remotely, it's become a 7-day work week. And we certainly have a lot of the challenges that were never really turned off. But then there were also reports that people are actually focused on work less, but getting more done.
Well, that's just it. It's a question of productivity. So it's not a question of quantity, it's a question of quality. So can you get your work done in 6 hours rather than 8 hours every day? When do you do your emails? Well, do you do your emails now, or do you wait until after 5 o'clock at night and then you do all your emails? So it's partly your efficiency, your productivity, and your creativity. I work basically from 9 to 5, but do I get calls later? Yes, I do get calls later, but basically it's a 9 to 5 job, and I take time off for lunch. I am very driven. Do you have a driven personality, or do you get easily distracted? These are self-disciplinary issues, and some companies will find that they have individuals who can get the work done shorter. And over in Europe, they're trying to organize this through their unions to cut it to a 4-day work week. That we've talked about for a long time, and a large part of it in the end is going to depend how well you can manage your people and how manageable and just self-disciplined they are to do it. Productivity is not something that you turn it on and off like a faucet. Sometimes I get some of my best ideas in my sleep, believe it or not.
In the shower, I would say.
Right. So. And I'm an author, and suppose I'm a futurist and all that nonsense. So, but again, I say to you, what kind of personality do you have? Are you laid back? Are you driven? Do you want to push yourself hard so that you can get everything done? And do you have a boss that will accept that? Or, useless hours in the office, the person who hangs around the office is going to get promoted longer. I think that's stupid. But a lot of managers, I'm afraid, look at it that way. So I'm all in favor of a shorter work week and a shorter work day. I have no problem with that. If you can get the job done, then do it well. Quality of work. And right now, in all honesty, folks, productivity in America stinks right now. All right. All this computerized stuff that we use, we find out a lot of people can't really use it in a way that's innovative and is increasing sales or improving products. There's been a big lag in productivity. And part of the problem is we're not using it right. And the thinking skills people are applying to it are inadequate. I could go on and on about that. Well, I'll stop right now. So,
and again, we can spend another 45 minutes or an hour or days, you and I, talking about this, because I would also go back to my original questions about the productivity, though. Does productivity stink only because a lot of people got caught off guard? Some of these skills that they had before should have been improved, and they should be better with technology.
All right, now that leads us into the next area that we need to talk about before the end of our program.
Segue, it wasn't intentional, but
all right, you did a great job, Ira. So look, we got 6.6 million vacant jobs across the United States right now. Most of those are skilled jobs that require very specific education and knowledge skill sets to use. Part of it is the technology, like all of us learning to better use this technology to do this program. With Ira, with his 3 computers going at once, and I'm sitting here with my specialized lighting and all this other stuff that I've organized. All right, that's part of it, but that's not really the tough part of it. Look, American business overall right now spends less than 20% annually that our major international competitors spend on job training and workplace development. Less than 20%. So what does that mean? Well, we got a lot of people right now that have been laid off temporarily, I hope. They're going to go back to work. Have things changed? Yes. How many new job training programs are we starting? Some, I noticed that. But I do notice, and I'm very happy to tell you, that I start seeing now from the major think tanks and major consulting firms, they're finally recognizing the trend that I've been working on for the last 20 years. We need more people to learn how to learn. We need better training and job training. And we're simply not doing it, not doing enough of it. Technical training, as well as leadership training, as well as sales training, you name it. We need more of it, and we're not doing it. Why? Well, it costs too much money. The person will quit if I train them. Well, I guess it's part of it is what's the overall culture of your organization? Does learning, is it a learning organization, or is it a bottom line organization interested in squeezing out the maximum profit in the shortest time possible? And right now we're entering an era where skill shortages are going to become chronic in every business sector. And I'm working on a major report on this. It will come out next year. It's called Job Shock. And it's going to be shocking because right now we have shortages of people, and it's going to get worse. Some of you have read my books, Future Jobs, etc. You want to know more about that, go on our website, which is flashed on the bottom of the screen. Email me. You can even call me. I'm going to give you my phone number. Oh, isn't that terrible, Ed? This is privacy. No, it's 312-664-5196. You can call me here in Chicago. Yeah, but just don't call me at 9 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast because I might not answer. But my point is, right now this is a big factor, and businesses need to pick up the fact that worker skills are eroding right now, and we need to do a better job in job training. And right now, the number one problem that you and HR have, and this is Ira's bailiwick in recruiting, is recruiting. You're having a hard time finding people that fit the skill needs of your company. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to ask you, if you lack maybe 5 of those skill needs, are you going to do job training to help them pick that up? Or are you just going to keep shuffling more paper? How many people you want to interview for a position? How long do you want to keep that position empty? And in fact, maybe you have positions you have never been able to fill, and you've stopped even looking for them. This isn't easy. This is not going into this. We had 10.5 million workers, empty jobs. And I'm predicting by 2022, we may have up to 14 million vacant jobs around the United States due to demographic problems. But the biggest one, in my opinion, is a lack of job training. And there are others, but we're going to run out of time soon, so I'll keep my big mouth shut. But I think I've given you enough to think about and respond to. So what do you think, Ira?
I've got something scrolling across the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
And you can actually go up to my website, Success Performance Solutions, and just on the search, put employability rather than trying to retype this whole thing. And Ed and I had done a 4-part series, which goes into a lot of the background and history and some of the other projections that are coming up from May through August. We had that. All the recordings, all the videos are up on my website. You can also go to YouTube channel that they're there. And we talked about the future of employability in different stages, and then also what you can do in your local communities through Ed's Retain work that's there as well, of how to create that. And that's going to be absolutely necessary. And then where you can see the Crowdcast link, by the way, is that webinar that I'm doing next week with Scott McKenzie. And we're talking about the online library of 2,600, there's actually more than that now, but more than 2,600 courses and things, a lot of the soft skills that we worry about that people don't have, everything from emotional intelligence to leadership, management, supervisory, customer service, but even software skills, how to use Word and Excel and work remote. There's actually a whole series of how to present yourself and how to both present online and some of the technical aspects of setting up your workplace. your workspace for that, and that'll obviously be evolving for a while. But yeah, go up and definitely look at the 4-part series that Ed and I have done.
What we do at Imperial is we work with companies in order to improve their talent management, and we also work with regions around the country in order to improve the system so that you end up having a broader and bigger audience to recruit from. But that means investing not only in current worker training, but also getting involved in some form of career education in elementary and secondary schools. And our last webinar we had with that series, we had a number of people who had set up these regional talent innovation networks, which are public-private partnerships where business, communities, families, schools, nonprofits, and local government, they have a partnership where they all are investing time, talent, and treasure to improve the system. This is not overthrowing anything. This is trying to improve what you have so that you have a bigger talent pool now and in the future. And we'll be issuing, we hope next February after the election and the inauguration, and COVID will be somewhat, I hope, under control, a major white paper on job shock, solving the employment meltdown by 2030, which right now looks like it's pretty certain. Along the lines of my other books, The 2010 Meltdown, Solving the Global Talent Showdown, Future Jobs, and look at our website. All those books are available, and you will see the many, many organizations over the past decades that Imperial has helped in trying to improve their talent.
And you can get to those books and some of the other information that Ed has, and also when the white paper comes out, I'm sure it'll be there. I'm sure we'll having a discussion and webcast, and but you can get it at imperialcorp.com. Ed, I believe Jim's a friend of yours. Is he a colleague?
Jim is the head of the workforce board. He's the executive director in Tallahassee, Florida, and I've worked with Jim in Indiana, in Illinois, and now in Florida to basically establish retain-like local organizations. They go under many brand names, and we support them all over the country, and we get requests from them to help them get more, particularly businesses and parents, engaged in this effort. Education starts at home. Encouraging a student to study is as important as encouraging them to go out and play football or basketball or whatever. And for life, it's even more important because they're going to need those skills to work for you.
And I know there's been a lot of conversation. We're going to have to cut it off here shortly, but there's been a lot of conversation about what Jim brought up of businesses, basically universities, colleges, communities, economic development have all been trying to align this. And one of the challenges is that, and I was on 2 calls yesterday, 2 roundtables, and it was very clear that most businesses aren't sure what skills that they need. They need skills. They're looking at what skill do we need today to hire somebody? But within 6 months, that might be outdated. And when you're looking at a 1 year, 2 year, 4 year curriculum or longer, to get somebody to develop those skills, by the time those skills develop, if you're just looking at today, then that doesn't solve the problem. So we're sort of living in the present and in the future simultaneously.
And the sad part is, in the 80s and 90s, many companies bulked up their training departments and had people that design learning programs and buy stuff from vendors to cope with these constant changes. Then the mid-90s until now, many companies have cut way, 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 way back. And now they're caught flat-footed.
So I'm going to cut it off there. I'll have you do a final word. But what is one of those challenges was always expense and time.
Yeah.
That we brought somebody in, it was going to cost us X number of dollars per person or thousands of dollars. And then we had to take people off the lines and retrain them and do that. Fortunately, we've learned how to educate adults on the fly. So now we have a micro learning, adult learning. And again, that's not replacing education, but it's talking about how do we do on the job skills training when people need it, and a refresher. So these micro learning, these 7 to 10 minute videos that are available that people can pull up on their smartphone and go, how do I do that again? They're able to do that. The other thing is, and just to give somebody a heads up, we can provide 25 different courses to someone, and there's, again, many companies that do it this way, but we can provide 20 to even a small business, 25 different courses from leadership to training on Word for as low as $35 a year per person. And they can get 25 different courses and track them and get certified and certificates and badges. It's an easy start. Nobody has an excuse anymore. It doesn't cost hundreds of dollars. You don't have to pull people off the line for days at a time. You don't have to bring in trainers and speakers for $5,000 a piece. Fortunately, we do have this technology. So it's a matter of how do we leverage technology to solve some of the problems that Ed and I were talking about, and Ed, that you brought up. Final closing words for this, because we said we're going to try to keep these around.
I'll close it with Robert Galvin, who in the 80s and 90s ran Motorola here in Chicago. Motorola University invested $2,500 a year in educating every one of its employees. I asked him, well, what does it cost Motorola? He said, it doesn't cost me a dime because of the increased productivity that we get from those workers, whether it's blended learning, classroom learning, learning offsite, online. It results in more productivity and innovation for Motorola. Level that at your corporate leaders. The long term, not just the short term, is what's important. And human capital is your most important asset in your company. Whether you're a tiny business and you work with others through a community college, or you're a large corporation and you have many more training options because you have the budget to do it. So think about it carefully.
Ed, thank you. What a great first our first live Gordon report.
And we'll have many more, so stay tuned.
Yeah, so hopefully you and I hadn't talked about this, but we were going to try to get it on everybody's calendar, and we're recording now the fourth Friday of the month at noon. So we'll talk about this if this is a good time. We had a nice attendance today. Maybe we'll lock this in. You and I can confirm that. But in order to get future notices, one of the best way will be you can follow Ed or me and on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, I'm all over the place. Or you can join Googleization Nation. Just go to googleizationnation.com. All we need is the first name and your email, and you will get notices when this comes up. There's the link for our webinar next week. If you belong to Googleization Nation, you'll get that again. And Ed's website is
our website. And if you're getting the Gordon report now, we will be sending you notices on this, and there will probably be future email Gordon reports coming out to you. But we thought inaugurating this today would attract even a bigger audience. So thanks for listening.
So hopefully we'll continue this conversation on Tuesday with Grow Your Talent, Develop Leaders. We're going to talk about reskilling and upskilling using online microlearning. You can get the link right there. Stay safe, everyone. We've got we're entering that the flu season now, so hopefully people will wear masks, keep the distances, do the right things.
Get your flu shot.
And get the flu shots too. So thanks, everyone. Take care. Stay safe.